A push of dry air for much of us on the way just in time for the 4th, but trouble potentially brewing in the tropics that could impact your plans coming up in about a week. Welcome in, folks. Great to see you on this wonderful Monday it is, and the last day of June out there, and finally almost to July, and we've officially hit the halfway point in the year. So hopefully we've had a good first half of 2025. Personally, I've done a lot so far this year, and very grateful to have some of the opportunities that I have had. And one of those being the privilege of being here today to talk to you about the weather. So again, I do appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't already, go ahead, like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell for the latest notifications. Great way to stay up to date as we continue to track, this active weather that we have seen so far this year. And I'd say the next couple of days is going to be one of the more quiet periods we've had in quite some time. But don't get too excited because, again, by the time we hit Saturday and Sunday, going into this coming weekend, potential tropical trouble that we'll need to watch for just off the southeast coastline that could bring some big rainfall for some of us, and maybe even something a little bit more. We could get that C name out of it, and we'll definitely take a look at that. Now, before we do that, I do briefly want to mention, if you missed it yesterday and you're not from the Charlotte area, I did make my on-air debut at WCCB Charlotte as the new weekend meteorologist. You can see there's a little screen grab I took, so super exciting stuff there. If you'd like to watch, you can tune in on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday at 6 and 10 p.m. And if you live in the Midlands of South Carolina, you can tune in at 11 p.m. on ABC Columbia. I'll be your meteorologist there as well. So exciting stuff going on for me. And I do appreciate all of the kind words from everybody about my debut. Most people said it went all right, so I'll take that and run with it. But back to the other stuff, let's talk about the weather. And today, again, we do have this system that is beginning to cross on through. You can see it quite well in our upper level water vapor loop. We've got this trough dipping down. Now, it's not wintertime, so you're not going to get a big trough that's going to dip all the way down to the Gulf, and we're going to get a big whoosh of dry air for everybody. But we are going to get enough dry air that I think for most of us, the 4th of July is actually looking pretty good, especially compared to some previous years where we've had maybe more to track. But this year, overall, for much of the country, looking like a pretty good 4th. Before we get there, though, we're going to get this big slug of moisture out in front of that frontal system. We're going to see a pretty feisty line of storms. I say feisty, pretty typical for this time of the year, but pretty widespread, probably a better way to word that. Now, back home here, what are we seeing right now over the lower 48 on radar? Yeah, again, most of the precip is out east ahead of that front. We've got showers and storms from Michigan all the way down through the Ohio River Valley, back into Missouri, into Oklahoma, the panhandle of Texas, the Carolinas have seen rain, Virginia, the Mid-Atlantic. I could keep on going and name basically every state east of the Mississippi, but you get the point. A lot of us seeing some of that action now. New England, on the other hand, staying pretty quiet. We've been on the north side of a boundary for quite some time. It's been a little bit cooler than it was this time a week ago, and a little less rainy for some of us, so that is good news up there. But elsewhere, yeah, tracking more of the same. Now let's take a look at the upper level map today and give you an idea of where this system is going, and just quickly time that out for the next couple of days. So here we go this evening. In the mid levels, you see that little bit of blue. That is cooler air, or a pocket of cool air. And again, take the word cool with a grain of salt. For this time of year, it's cool air. Now, this would still be pretty warm for fall or even spring, but we'll take any relief we can get. Again, coming out of this big heat wave, the biggest one we've seen so far this year, we'll take a trough like this, and the models have actually done a pretty good job with it. We were talking about this almost a week ago, talking about that potential relief, and here it is on the way. Now you can see that is going to continue to work east and try to dip pretty far south. I mean, this is by Tuesday into Wednesday. We at least get back to average height anomalies, even down all the way into the Carolinas. You've got another even more robust pocket of cool air that's going to try to swing on through by later on this week and into the weekend. Here we go by Thursday, and then here we are for the 4th of July. Now, by the time we get to the 4th, a new ridge is likely going to build in. So we're going to start to warm back up. It's going to get plenty warm again, probably muggy again as well for most of us, outside of, again, maybe New England, where you're just lucking out with a pattern like this. But I still think the leftover dry air from that front is going to keep rain chances down for a lot of us. Now, we will need to watch over here into the Midwest, and portions of the plains could see a little bit more lift in the atmosphere that could produce maybe higher in rainfall chances there. But for a lot of us here along the eastern seaboard, we're looking pretty good for the 4th. Let me not circle Florida, though. You'll see why in a moment. But right into that area, looking pretty good, I think, there for those firework forecasts. Obviously, keep you up to date. Could change a little bit, but overall, looking pretty good. All right, let's swing on over now. Let's time out this frontal system. Could we see severe weather from it? When's it going to work on through where you're watching? Go ahead and take a look at those maps now. Yeah, so sure enough, we could see some severe weather with this front. Now, again, the good news, it's not springtime. We're not working with every beautiful severe weather parameter, at least beautiful if you're a storm chaser like me, maybe not so much for everyone else, but we are still going to see a couple strong storms, I think. And you can see that here, marginal risk of severe weather. This is for today, anywhere from Philly, Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, all the way back down into the Red River Valley of Texas and Oklahoma, over through the Ozarks. Yeah, a couple strong storms going to be a possibility. And again, nothing we haven't seen before. The tornado threat today isn't that beautiful to see. Look at that. Nothing there on the tornado map. Looking all clear there. Tomorrow, we're going to do it all again with another severe weather threat. And the hazards are going to stay the same today and tomorrow. It's going to be strong straight line winds and some hail. Wind's going to be the main threat, though. Some of us, again, could see some hail. I'm not expecting baseballs or anything like that. But again, some pea-sized, even quarter size, maybe an isolated place gets, slightly bigger than quarters. But for the most of us, relatively tame storms, again, relatively speaking, compared to maybe springtime storms that would bring a bigger punch. Tomorrow, though, we are going to up the threat just a little bit to a slight risk. That's a level 2 out of 5. And again, this is being driven off the wind threat. You can see here Philly up through just about all of New Jersey into the DMV, portions of Delaware, Baltimore, D.C., Fredericksburg, even over towards Harrisonburg, Virginia. Going to see a slightly higher wind threat with some of these storms tomorrow. Not expecting, a derecho or anything like that. But again, gusty winds embedded in this line. We can see gusty winds all the way down into the Charlotte metro. Would not surprise me out of this, kind of frontal system as it works on through. So those are the outlooks. Again, not a big deal. Let's go ahead and take a look now at some high resolution data and give you the latest on the timing for this storm system. Well, here we go, latest high resolution rapid refresh model, and we're going to time this thing on out for you. So here's this afternoon, and it might not surprise many of you that guess what? It looks a lot like it has for many afternoons over the past week or so, and I'll tell you, I feel like it's Groundhog Day. I even said that on air last night. It's same thing over and over and over again. But again, this one's going to be a little bit more of a defined system. I think today is kind of the last normal day for a lot of us. You can see by this afternoon and evening, you start to get a kind of area of storms that pop out at you a little bit more from the northeast, all the way back down the Ohio River Valley, and even into the southern plains. More of the same, though, some gusty winds. A little bit of hail, not a huge deal. Now, eventually, through the overnight, because this is being driven off a front, we could still see overnight action into the evening hours. Now, severe chances would die down, but do not be surprised to hear rumbles of thunder overnight in places like Kentucky, Tennessee, southern Illinois, Indiana, and even Ohio there. See those storms working on through, even for portions of the Northeast, could see a complex of storms work all the way through, even into New England, where, again, it has been more dry and cool, but doesn't mean you're going to be immune from storms from this system overnight tonight and even into tomorrow. Now, let's go into Tuesday afternoon. By tomorrow, the Mid-Atlantic gets in on the action. Yeah, Philly, D.C., Baltimore, all the way down through the Carolinas, Georgia, heck, even Alabama and into Florida starting to see some shower and storm activity for your Tuesday, first day of July. And kicking it off with a bang here. A lot of thunder, lightning obviously coming with that thunder. Some gusty winds, and you guessed it, small hail going to be a possibility there on your Tuesday afternoon and evening, swinging on through for many of us. Now, the peak of it in terms of intensity will be at peak heating, probably that 5 to 8 p.m. time frame. Not completely losing the rain after that, but the intensity of the storms beginning to die down a little bit here into the overnight. Here we go, waking up Wednesday morning. By this point, our front is kind of parked right into here, and it could lead to another day of afternoon showers and storms Wednesday, especially down where we could get some sea breeze to accompany it here into the Carolinas, Georgia, and maybe even portions of Florida. We'll watch that, but I think for most of us by Wednesday, we start to clear out and start to get some of that drier air, especially in the mid-levels is where we're going to see it the most. Now, down at the surface, still are going to see lower dew points, but it's not necessarily going to feel like fall for a lot of us. All right, let's switch on over now. Let's take a look at a couple more maps, and let's talk about the tropics. Again, things starting to brew down south, and what that could mean for your 4th of July forecast. Let's talk about that surface dew point map a little bit. Again, you can think of this as the muggy meter, if you will. The kind of contours here with the lower numbers or those drier colors, that's drier at the surface, and those more purplish, pinkish. It's not pink, but really just purple and dark bluish, green colors. Those are areas where we have more moisture at the surface, and it's going to feel more muggy. Now, this is tomorrow afternoon. Again, ahead of this front, a big surge of moisture, all the way up and down the eastern seaboard. We're going to feel it. That dry air we had in New England now getting back to more summer-like, at least for a day or so, all the way back down through the Gulf Coast. Now, behind it, though, notice back into the plains, the northern plains especially, we're getting dew points back into the 50s. It's feeling nice that way. And that's going to try to work south and east. Now, that's for your Tuesday afternoon. What about Wednesday? You can see not nice per se, but better than it has been. Dew points getting kicked back into the 60s, even lower 60s for much of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley there for your Wednesday afternoon. Now, compared to what we have felt, that's going to feel pretty nice. Now, if you were to feel this in the fall time, you'd think, well, this doesn't feel like fall. But again, it's July. We'll take what we can get. Any beat back of that humidity is definitely going to be something that we will enjoy. That's Wednesday. Here we go for Thursday. And you start to see just how short-lived this is going to be for some of us. Now, at that point, that pocket of dry air is kind of sinking off to the east. I think the Appalachia chain, go for a hike on Thursday if you can. And out from the Virginias, even North Carolina mountains, up into the mountains of the Northeast. It's going to feel pretty good, I think, for July standards. But behind it, just in time for the 4th, a new ridge kicking in and new moisture and heat and humidity building back in towards the plains there by Thursday. And then we'll give you a sneak peek here at Friday for your 4th of July. This is about the time we're probably shooting off fireworks. Yeah, the humidity's back, and we're going to feel it in a big way for a lot of us there, again, by that Friday evening. So hopefully, again, we'll stay dry, especially in the east, I think, but could have to watch a couple afternoon showers and storms here, kind of in that circled area on your map of the Central Plains. Nothing too atypical for this time of year, but again, I think majority-wise, it's going to be a pretty good 4th of July forecast for a lot of us. Now, precipitable water, this is another great tool to look at. This is basically how much rain we can get out of the atmosphere when storms form. And notice we've got a lot of it here ahead of the front, but behind it, like I said, the mid-levels is where the majority of this dry air is going to be. And here we go, by Thursday, a big pocket of mid-level dry air. That's going to help to suppress convection and the potential of storms forming for a big section of the east. This is Thursday. Again, a little bit of a different story into the plains where that ridge is building back in. And then here we go, Friday for the 4th of July. Again, this is the time we're shooting off fireworks at Northeast New England, looking great. For most of us east of the Mississippi, looking good. Higher PWatt values, as we call them, though, back out into the plains. Need to watch that. Could have a higher end rainfall chances associated with that. And, obviously, we'll continue to monitor that before we get a little bit closer. Today's Monday. That's Friday. 5 days to iron out the details. But that's just the general thought process that we're looking at. And I'm going to pull up something here on the fly just to show it to you. Again, this is the GFS model, kind of simulating this for you rainfall-wise. And let's get this back to this is Thursday afternoon. Again, like I said, dry for a lot of us. Now, you notice off the southeast coastline, a little different there. We'll talk about that coming up with the tropics segment. So Thursday, still looking pretty good. Here we go. By Friday, this is the 4th of July. Like I said, watch the northern plains in the Midwest. If there's one trouble spot, excuse me, for that holiday forecast, that's the zone I'm watching. Again, here from Minnesota, back down maybe even into the Rockies and the front range of Colorado and points in between. Don't think it'll be a washout for 90% of us. Maybe 10% might get the raw end of the deal here. But while that's happening, take a look at the east. That's about as dry of a 4th of July forecast as you're going to see for many of us there. So, all right. Now, again, monitoring that area off the southeast coastline, you can see that here. I'll show you one more map. Why not? Nothing stopping us. We're not on a time limit here. So here's our vorticity map. Let's move this ahead. By Thursday, Friday, here's the storm that's bringing the front in the mid-levels. Again, we've got a lot of spin. We got a lot of lift out in front of it. And notice this ribbon of vorticity getting brought back down. This is the frontal part of it, all the way down to Florida. Now, this is a classic setup for what we call homegrown development. At the tail end of this thing, what happens is some of this vorticity gets pinched off from the front, becomes its own thing, and could potentially try to form into some sort of storm system. And because of that, the National Hurricane Center has an area we're watching. And with that said, that's a great segue into that tropical segment of today's video. Well, here it is. Yeah, you can already see that little lemon, as we call it, or just an area of yellow. Only a 20% chance right now of developing into something. So, nothing screaming this will be the next named storm, but it's pretty classic, scenario for something to develop. Now, you might be thinking, all right, we're getting an early head start. Look at all this bubbling up of convection. Yeah, completely different from what we're going to be watching. Really, this won't even have a chance of developing until right at the 4th. So that's the good news. Now, could bring rain into Florida on the 4th of July. I know I said the East would be dry. Florida, you're kind of your own separate animal here where you're kind of sticking down into the Gulf. Could have some rain problems there for our Friday on the 4th of July. Again, I don't think it'll be a washout, and hopefully we still get some of those fireworks shows off, but we'll need to watch it, and we really won't know till the day of exactly who is going to be seeing the heaviest rain and who won't. It's going to be one of those nowcast things, but the pattern does suggest heavy rain over the Florida Peninsula with the potential of tropical development. Now, let's take a look at Old Reliable here. These are some ensembles from the King Euro, as we call it, or just the European model. And yeah, you can see by that Thursday, Friday, or excuse me, really Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then even into early next week time frame, some of the ensemble members get something going here. Now, still a lot to figure out here. Does this, if it even does develop in the Atlantic side or in the Gulf side? That'll mean a lot. But you can see the general idea here from a lot of our models is whatever this is does get shoved back into the southeast in some way, shape, or form. Now, does it get shoved into the Carolinas? Does it get shoved into Florida, Georgia, Alabama? Does it have a shot at maybe Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas? All of that still on the table, but for now, just know we're monitoring it. And even if this doesn't form, we'll increase rain chances wherever it goes. That's the European GFS ensembles. Yeah, same general thinking, same general idea. So not a huge deal. We'll need to watch it though. And again, I think the worst of whatever it brings, luckily, will be after the 4th of July. All right, let's show you some model data here. This is brand new, hot off the press GFS. Let's see what it shows. This is, again, time above my head. And you can see here we are for this coming Thursday morning, afternoon. Some rain into the Florida Peninsula, maybe even coastal sections of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Can't rule it out. We'll have to watch that. And then Friday afternoon for the 4th itself, and here we go Friday evening, mostly dry. Again, cannot rule out a quick pop-up storm in the southeast. That's normal. Heavier rain chances over the Florida Peninsula for that 4th of July forecast. Obviously not the best of news, but we'll take what Mother Nature gives us. And then after that, rain kind of just stays there. GFS doesn't really develop this into much, but notice rain chances increase by the early part of next week and even the end of this weekend through portions of the southeast. I think that's a pretty safe bet no matter what. Some models a little bit more aggressive with developing this. Let's show you the Canadian model again, also brand new. This is the first time I'm looking at it as well. Let's see what it does here. We'll kind of just skip ahead into time. And yeah, notice the Canadian a little more aggressive here. Tries to develop this even by the morning of the 4th of July, but it's well offshore and wouldn't even be a problem for really even Florida with a look like this on the Canadian model, and kind of spins it around a little bit and then tries to get another area going in the Gulf after that. So yeah, a lot of predictability to be desired here with a setup like this. But again, that's normal. When you get this frontal system, you don't really know where it's going to get pinched off and where the low pressure is going to form. So this is pretty normal uncertainty at this time frame. European model, I'll tell you, a lot like the GFS, has that front stalled out there, again, off the southeast coast over Florida. Tries to develop something and just struggles a little bit. By the time we get to this Saturday, Sunday, you can see it's trying to do something here off the Florida coast. We'll see. Again, just another model and more data for you to take with a grain of salt. Final model I'll show you just because I love doing a sprint of models here. Icon model, and I think this is the newest run. Yeah, this is the brand new 12Z run, so we'll see what it shows as well. And you can see, here we go. Yeah, tries to get something developing by this weekend over Florida, pulls that moisture back up into the southeast. Wouldn't even really be a named storm with a look like that. But once again, the key takeaway would increase rain chances. So let's summarize everything again one more time for you, and then I'll let you go on this Monday. Front pushing through, that's going to increase rain for most of us today, tomorrow, and even Wednesday for some of us. A nice drier pattern behind that east of the Mississippi for Thursday and Friday. Rain chances in the northern plains by Friday. Rain chances in Florida by Friday. By next weekend, or this coming weekend, tropical trouble potential low wind chance of developing, higher rain chances either way, wherever it goes. And that's your summary of today's video. So if you watched nothing and you just watched the last 10 seconds, then you at least got something out of this. All right, well, y'all have a great day. I will quickly throw a couple announcements here at the end of the video. One, I apologize for not having a video yesterday. Just honestly wasn't feeling very good yesterday morning. Luckily, got through it, feeling better today. And other news, unfortunate timing with the tropics, but I'm out of town Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week on vacation. So follow me on social media for updates. That includes Facebook, Twitter/X. I'll post weather updates there for you on any new developments with that tropical system down in the Gulf. While I'm gone, you can always check out Mitch West Weather. He's a great resource, a great tool. He is linked on my channel. And honestly, if you're watching my channel, you probably already know about his channel, but he does a great job of going in depth with these setups. So definitely tune in there. All right, y'all have a great one. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.